Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and we are doing a no-run-through review for Ahoy! The main reason we're doing a no-run-through review is because I forgot to turn on the fucking overhead camera, which is just incredibly frustrating. But it's probably for the best. I hate this game. This game made me so mad. Like, from turn one, I was just annoyed at everything that everyone was doing. And I think Leader Games is just riding high on Root, and they've just flopped in every other aspect.
I mean, Fort's not bad.
Oh yeah, that's right, Fort. Which I think is the same designer as this one.
Certainly the same artwork.
I think it is the same designer, but I was intrigued because whenever I met him, and he's a very nice guy, he was telling me about Ahoy, and he was like, okay, if you like Root, then check this one out, but it's a little bit lighter and obviously less complex, which it is.
Yes.
It's definitely, if you're trying to see if you like asymmetry, I would actually, I'd pick this one over Vast. Like, yeah, I don't like Vast. But there's just so many fundamental problems that at the end of the day, it's like, because then I don't mind conflict games. And most of the time if there's conflict and someone, attacks me or slights me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Sure. Or it's like, if it doesn't make sense, the person will be like, hey, here's why I'm doing this, because, yada, yada, yada. And this one is just like cutthroat for the sake of being cutthroat, which I guess it fits the pirate theme.
Right.
But it's like, this is just fucking obnoxious. Like, it feels like every time someone does something, the next person... Well, actually, sorry. You're really not in this conversation. Brett!
Right.
Every time you did something, it felt like I was just doing my actions to then undermine that.
Right.
And then by doing that, then you just did something to undermine that.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we're just doing this weird back and forth tug of war, which makes Zach in this weird position of trying to play devil's advocate, because if he picks favorites, then it definitely swings
one direction.
And it's like, well, then the smuggler has no chance of winning,
right?
Because he can't deliver enough. Like,
right.
I just did a 9-point swing at the end of the game that we just played, and in my head I was thinking, oh, there's no way that can happen.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, if you just look at the board, so at the dice basically tick up as I deliver, I delivered across the board. Like, there isn't...
for the most part.
There's 2 spots that had more, but there's a lot of 2s out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of points, especially, Brett got, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 points.
And you got 9.
And I got 9.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't think that this game is unbalanced.
Nope.
I think all the factions do, even though... But my problem with... It's like, okay, they're balanced, fine, but are they fun? So I guess my question is, I despise this faction. I do not like them. I think... I think they're weirdly powerful,
right,
but they don't feel powerful. I never felt like I was like, man, I'm doing a lot. I felt they were, and maybe that's just the kind of the balance aspect, where it's like, man, that's like way better than mine, and you could have been like, man, those fucking sharks are way better than mine.
So I wonder, because I felt the same way, honestly. I actually thought, it was like, wow, man, you guys are powerful because you're getting 4 points by controlling that, and unless I go and attack, which then seems like an act of aggression, when I'm trying to be, to a certain extent, neutral in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're just trying to make a delivery, and you are forced to attack somebody to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but I feel almost the same way, and again, only in the sense, like, I always feel weaker than my opponent is the same as, like, War of the Rings.
Oh, right.
You always feel like you're doing terribly until the person wins.
Right.
And I wonder if this is the same kind of principle, like, man, they are so powerful. And you just don't always realize how powerful you are from that person's point of view.
Yeah,
right. Well, because, so I will say I felt pretty much the same way.
Okay.
I felt like I had, spikes of success, and then you would slowly grind it down.
Right.
And then I'd have another big spike.
Right.
So it was interesting that yo-yo effect.
It's definitely an interesting dynamic of that. And then we kind of
But most of what I did was defensive. I took a card not intending to use it just to make sure you couldn't have it.
Sure. I mean, no, it totally made sense for you to take that.
And then once you started using yours, I went, okay, well, we'll fight over that.
Right.
I was actually holding off to see what you would do. And
No,
waited
that
for
was,
you to make the first move.
That
and then
made
I just
absolutely. I was like, there was no point to come up with a ceasefire in a game like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then at that point we do nothing to hinder each other, and then Zach wins, and it is a competitive
Right.
game.
Yeah.
So it's like if there was a lot more in this game, like if there was something like that in TI or something,
Right.
then it's like, yeah, sure, we can do a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
But this is like, at this point, these cards were so crucial to, okay, well, you hinder my patrols, I hinder your mollusks. But actually, besides the one card that you had the whole time,
waited too long.
God, that would have just...
I don't know if you
I probably would have
waited
thrown up. Just if you played that and then, just, okay. And for the record,
If I had added it up, then I would have. If I had taken the time to
be like,
math out
oh,
the
he's going
points,
to end the game now.
Yeah, I would have, and I honestly don't know if I would have won doing that, but I probably would have edged it.
Because you would have got to place them on any other islands, just
Right.
any number of them.
So
anywhere.
he would have gone at least 1, 2. Could have taken the. I mean, he could.
No, he could. You
Yeah.
could
I could have piled them
gone
all
with
up on here.
You didn't even need to. You just needed to put 2 on there.
Right.
2 on there, and then take everything else over. And yeah, that would have been, because you only needed 5 points to 30.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, you could have easily.
And then you actually probably wouldn't have been at 29 because you put more cards onto me than
I
him.
put most on
Yeah.
you.
Which it worked out. I mean,
I actually scored, I think, equal. Because I started putting cards onto Brett's.
Oh, yeah.
Because he started taking more islands on the surrounding. So, like, I scored 2 points, like, just from Reds. Because the minute I started delivering Reds, like, okay, I don't think you're going to get back down there. So I have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And the only way I could have stopped any of this was by using the Convincing Comrades. But
Right.
I didn't. By Brett keeping them all at once, it felt like a wasted die.
Right, I
It's like,
agree.
well, I don't want to just move 1 over. It definitely behooves me to move 2.
Right.
So it's very interesting. So I mean,
It seems like it's who can use their overpower better. Is what it
Right,
really
because
comes down to.
I think-
everybody's overpowered in some way.
yeah, and I think you're overpowered. I think by your cards actually more
Yeah.
than
Cards
more than
are
your.
big.
Those are really
And the ability to most of the time spread anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm not limited by geography.
yeah. The smuggler is very powerful because he just fucking takes
Cards.
cards.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I can make these almost free. Because
And
once it's an
those are
even,
cards we can't
which
use.
is a 50-50 chance using 4 dice, I can have this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Every
And so
time.
you have a stacked crew. The smuggler, I would say, is the most versatile one
Right.
out of the 3.
Yeah.
Because you could go on the aggressive, but it's so weird. It's very bizarre. The smuggler is kind of the one who dictates how well certain factions are doing,
Yes.
They can. Yeah.
which I don't think is fun. Like,
they definitely
someone's just going to get butt
encourage-
hurt.
They're going to definitely encourage what areas you need to start controlling.
Right. And
Because
it's
either
like,
you need to be the mollusk and just spread everywhere and just try to get 1 point, just tons of 1-pointers.
yeah.
And maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because you put a 4 and 3, and then the one in the middle, it's like you actually helped me by destroying my stronghold, because then you were able to bump it up.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go back there, deploy, drop, move them in, and then just immediately place a stronghold back.
Right.
And then the strength of the Bluefin squadron is they just have insane attack power.
Yeah. Constant insane.
Attack power, and I actually think their strongest thing is that 1 extra die.
100%
I have
agree.
so much control.
And the ability to go last every single round.
Right.
Because you always have one
yeah,
leftover die.
yeah.
You're always last.
You
they
can
are
react
always last.
to
Always win the reaction.
Yep.
Which to me, because this is still, because it's combat, but it's also a little bit king of the hill, especially for you two.
Mm-hmm.
Always being last is always good.
That is because I get to see if he does anything. Because if he came in here, came in here and took it over, it's like, oh, okay. Well, I luckily have a 3 left, so I can do my order, and it's just very situational. But it's like I can still counteract to whatever anyone does, and then we go right to scoring.
Right.
And I don't know. It's like, again, I'm not saying these are unbalanced. I just think they're annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
kinda
they're unbalanced.
Like, I don't think this game is bad. It's just, it's annoying, at least for me. And this is from someone who...
Is it too limited? In the options?
No, I think it does a great job for what it's wanting to do. It actually, for a base game, like, it's relatively solid. Like there's enough strategy that I'm not sitting here like there was the one time of being like, well, I have one fucking die, I don't know what to do with it. But then Zach's like, oh, just move over there and then you can control it. It's like, oh, yeah, you're right, I can do that.
Right. And so, like, I actually am a little interested in this game to play it more, but just watching the other two factions, like, why would I never not want to play just the smuggler?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the most enjoyable portion of it. I can see myself enjoying the Bluefins because, honestly, just say, you can all be butthurt and I'm going to take you all out with it. Whatever.
But that's the thing is, like, the Bluefins are only as strong as the smuggler allows them to be. If I was playing the smuggler and you kept like, I mean, you would only be attacking him, but if you kept attacking me, it's like, okay, fine, I'm just going to start racking up points that he controls.
Well, and that's the thing, so like, because you could have put more cannons down, like, you could have started hitting me harder to limit my ability to place. Because realistically, you actually kind of want the game to last a long time.
No, I don't think so. I think they want the game to last a long time because they rely on having one mollusk at, because I'm very congealed with my, I mean, yes, I could order and eventually start spreading them out, but they're so easily killed by that point, and because I do want to play strongholds and I only have 3, I want to be very central focused. I want to let the smuggler increase regions, and then I just want to hoard those down. That's right. I'm king of the hill. Like, I feel like he's more area control. Just because.
Diverse.
Because I have no way. I have one.
You're strategic area control.
Yes.
I'm diverse area control.
I have literally, exactly. I have one spot that lets me put out an extra patrol. 1 die. Granted, I could theoretically use a 5 and then go to a harbor and move it over and then do it again.
No, I get that, but every time you sail, you put out a patrol. If you have a cannon, all your patrols now can fight. So they're all now basically limiting, because the thing is, if you cause a fight, they're done moving.
But that only stops you.
It stops his ships too.
I mean, he only has 1 ship unless he gets the other 2 out, but then he just stays away from me. The fact that he has an ability to just take 4 mollusks and just...
Right, but he can only do that once per turn.
Theoretically, no, because then he could go and stop in a harbor, move it over to a cannon.
What I'm saying is if you start putting your sharks out to start damaging stuff...
My sharks cannot attack where his mollusks are.
I know. So what I'm saying is you start putting your sharks in the harbor areas with the cannon always set, because you can always have 2 cannons, right? You're forcing him
to... Yes, I could do that and then just hold up, but then...
Then you're not moving around.
Then I'm not moving around and placing strongholds. I'm just kind of like...
Again, you're focused in one area, hoping and strategizing how to make that worth the most points.
Right. In my mind, me preventing him from being able to drop him out is... Because then he just... Okay, well, yeah, you have a 6, I have a 6 in my cannons, I'll drop it down to a 1, so will you. Then it comes to... This is fucking trash. Like, what? He must have just gave up at the end when deciding combat. That shit is so frustrating. But then it comes down to, oh, okay, we're evens on cannons. I rolled a 4. Oh, you rolled a 5. Okay. Like, that's that. Or, even worse. Nope, I rolled 2 dice. Nope, boom, 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 boom. Right. Here's my 10 cards that I guarantee I'm winning.
Oh, yeah, I started out this game. Well, one of the ones I was dealt with was the one where you add this many to your die roll, to your cannon.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I had a stack of 10 right off the bat. Because if anybody hit me, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I win.
Roll plus 10.
Because then the attacker has...
And you don't lose them.
Right.
It's just however many you happen to have in store. The only time I actually did use it, I knocked that down to 2. Where I was like, shit.
Yeah, and the die roll, the attacker has to spend their cannons first. So you just sit there and you're like...
Right.
Okay, I'm not even going to spend this card because I'm going to spend it now.
So I can hang on to it.
Yeah. And as we're conversing, it's like, obviously, the annoyance of playing the game is subsiding. It is showing that, surprisingly, this game, because you asked if it's too much, I think there's more depth here than one would initially be, especially because you're obviously going to be comparing it to Root, same company, and asymmetric factions.
Right.
I weirdly think this is more aggressive than Root, but that could just be because I'm playing the aggressive faction,
and it might be because
I never do in Root.
And you're never going to play a Root 3-person game.
No, not really. No.
There's too much aggression, too much defensiveness going on
Yeah.
to keep track of who you're supposed to be gunning for.
Yeah, I've never. No, I have played through the 3-player game. It's not the worst.
It's not the worst, but it's not great.
It's not ideal. Yeah.
not
4
good
is
to what,
where you really you
four
want
to
4 or
six?
better.
Yeah. 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah. I would take 4, 5, or 6.
So.
Yeah, this is definitely more focused, and therefore it's like, okay, we're...
Yeah.
So-
It's also very weird that what he chose to do, instead of doing 4 unique factions, he chose 3 unique factions and an extra smuggler.
Right.
It'd be like playing Root with
With
2
two
vagabonds
vagabonds.
and the cats and
The Eerie.
birds. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Eerie.
Or the
Oh my god, that's exactly what it is.
It's the Lord of the 100 and
Lord of the 100 and the birds.
Probably the birds.
Yeah, I think the Eerie. And then you have 2 vagabonds. God,
That would be
what a
terrible
trash game that would
It'd be horrible.
So yeah, and I'm very curious if adding another. Man, I don't know. I do not. I actually didn't mind this at 3.
I don't know that it would be good because
Adding another smuggler would change the values that these get.
It would
Right.
drastically change.
But all it
yeah.
would do is realistically give you guys more points, and each smuggler would lose points. Totality, because there's only so much cargo to.
There's only so much cargo. We're technically in a
that's
3-player game. You miss
Unless the smugglers decided
six
to gang
cards
up on
are
the other
removed
2.
from the game because it's one of each suit in a 3-player game.
Oh, are there? Okay.
Oh,
So-
there's more?
There's 6 more cards.
cards.
One more of each suit.
But that's only
More island? More regions?
theoretically 6 more points if you got half and half.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, you got to 29, but that's because you were the sole focus of all those.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is because if we hire crew, then that limits the cargo that you can get.
Right.
Which actually is kind of... But then you also have... You become... I feel like with a smuggler in a 3-player game, you do become more smuggler. Like, more
Right.
cargo focused. If there's another smuggler, you probably lean more combat.
Yep.
Because then you want to win battles and then trick around that. Because you get, 5 points? Was it 4 or 5 points from those?
So the corners are really good. So spend up to 5 gold, get a point for every gold you spend. Get 4 fame, but raise the die again. Repair all damage, get a star for every damage you repair, and then gain just 3 fame by itself. But everything around it is kind of which I like. I honestly do like that.
Yeah,
build
I mean,
up to it.
they're not nothing though.
They're not
Add a
nothing.
tile to map, so you could have actually done that and pulled this one out.
Okay.
I
Well,
think.
I don't think so
I
because there's no
think.
die for it, so you couldn't.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I
So
guess-
once that pile, because again,
you
everything's
could-
limited.
yeah, you could rush. Repair all damage is solid if you're not going for the repair option. A free tailwind is really good.
Free tailwind was actually halfway decent.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then just having gold. I mean, hell, like, I didn't even think, because I had gold at the beginning. And
So,
then,
so that's why I did this path. So I went down here, got the 2 gold, and then came back up with the idea, like, I'm going to make sure I have 5 gold when I hit this spot to get the 5 points.
nice.
So I got 3 points and 5 points. So I mean, 8 points of mine literally came from going around.
Yeah.
So
But it took you 7 deliveries to do that, right? 7 or 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
We've
deliveries.
taken 8 total deliveries to be
Yeah.
able to pull that off. And in fact,
To get a third of my points, it took 8 deliveries / combats.
yeah.
Which again, I will agree. If you had 2 smugglers, someone's becoming a buccaneer on that one.
Yeah, 100%. And just because it's not in the we don't have the run through because I didn't turn it on. The final score ended up being me at 30, Zach at 29, and Brett at 25.
Right.
Which throughout the entire game, like, I mean, you would go. It's kind of like Nightfall a little bit, where it's
Right.
like
I would jump.
You would jump in points, but only during the game, and then at the end of the round, then it's like, okay, I leapfrog, and then Brett leapfrogged. So then we were kind of going back and forth, and then throughout the game, then you pass us.
Right.
So it's a very interesting dynamic of point scoring, and I mean, I'm actually just amazed that I even pulled it off, just because at one point Brett was at 9, and I think I was at 15, or even
Yeah.
and then he passed me, and I'm like, I'm fucked. like he just jumped so high. How am I even going to combat this? Mm-hmm. And then it all came down to me having 1 extra turn,
Yeah.
and just the way that the
And me not taking the time
not
to
to
add
use
it all up.
not using
So-
that very like situational card, because God.
Yeah, each
In
of
fact,
these...
what I was worried about, because I knew the Buccaneer was in here. I think you have it. I thought you were going to aim to try and get it and fight me, because then you could have just wiped this out. Because the Buccaneer is like, oh, remove 2 crew. And I was going to go for it, but it was like, I think the 2 red islands ended up being way down here. It's like, yeah, that's not happening.
These were not a main focus of mine. The only one that I focused on was the one I didn't want you to have. And as it turns out, there's another one that came out anyway.
There was another one. I think he took it as cargo, and then there's 2. But that's the other thing. Is like so many of these we kind of talked about in the initial run through was they seemed so much better for like these should be like faction cards,
right?
But they're not. It's like because this doesn't behoove you to ever take as a smuggler,
right?
It's like it's great for you to have because then you have more control over your comrades. It's great for me to have because then I have control over my enemy's comrades.
And same vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't know why. The only reason I ever care about having the shark one is just to get through shark blockades of islands.
Yeah.
If you have cannons, because I might not want to fight them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the more I think about like the fighting, I get the fact of not liking the die roll, and that's I think comes down to some personal preference on it. But the victory conditions aren't devastating ever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of avoided fighting, but then I'm like at the same time I was like, why?
Yeah.
Realistically, for me, I probably should have fought more because the consequences of even losing were like, who cares? Especially like I got the ship right, so I could repair all damage. I take 4 damage.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well, it's not even that. It's like okay, you take 2 damage. Like that's the max I could do to you. And it's just so weird that, there were so many times in the game where you have battle victory that it's like, but I don't get anything for it.
Yeah.
Like,
and the loser doesn't really lose much either.
Not really. Like, because it's
a
so
little
easy
bit of
to
damage,
repair
but
damage.
it's easy to repair damage. It's, I mean, harbors heal you too, or move stuff to cannons to basically fight.
Yeah.
There was 2 shipwrights, so you can always heal up. Repair heals 2 of your damage, which realistically, I took more damage by going through trash than I did anything else.
Right.
I never felt the need to repair. I have 4 damage on my ship, and I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think the only time I did is because I think you fought me at one point. And
you went into.
I went into.
I had cannons, and you went into a patrol.
And I didn't realize you. Yeah. And I lost my full sail, which that's probably the most critical one to me. Negotiating full sail is the only good things for this thing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I have to repair that.
Right, but it's more of just kind of like you accidentally went into a spot. I guess we have to fight. And it's like, I guess I'll deal 2 damage there and there. Like, I never really cared about damaging. Really, the only reason I wanted to fight you was because I specifically had something as a battle victory.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, okay, I deal a damage and I get to remove a comrade out, which I need to, so I can take over that spot.
I do think that this, I would agree, it's root light. So if you like root, this is probably going to work for you. And I can see it.
Or if root is a bit much for you, then you probably like this.
You have to like aggression games, though.
That's the thing.
Okay, so the thing that I don't enjoy about root is just the overall complexity.
Right.
I've got to figure out all the stuff that I can do and what should I do best. And there's no way I can figure out what you guys are probably going to try to do to counter it. So that can't be a factor.
That's how most people teach the root is. It's like,
I know.
You learn your faction, ignore everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, it's simpler enough that you can think, well, if I do that, what's he probably going to do? You're like, I don't really want to get rid of your patrols, but I don't want you having strongholds, so I'm going to get rid of your patrols.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting because I love Root. Root's a 10 out of 10 game for me. And I don't really care for this game.
But you also don't
That's why I
play
was wondering if it
aggressive
was because of the
factions.
complexity.
But even
level,
in the aggression of Root, I mean, I've played every faction. And
But do you enjoy every faction?
I do.
The aggression?
We even the ranking, like all of them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even the river folk aren't
You know
aggressive.
what I bet it is? Just knowing your personality? I bet it's because in Root, there's a puzzle in figuring out how to accomplish your goals. More than there is here. Here it's pretty straightforward.
That could be it. It is basically there's all the factions. I mean, like I said, there is some depth to them. At least how they integrate with everything else. But at the end of the day, I need to fight.
Right.
Like, there's no other way for me to get points. And even then, it's like, it's so weird that it's like, yeah, I'm aggression, and I should fight, but why? Like, I don't gain anything for fighting you, except hoping to fight for these.
Your goal in fighting is to knock me down so I don't get the points.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And we talked about that stuff in, like, Petrichor.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of weirdly, like, in that sense of, I'm hurting you or you, not for me to gain anything, but to hinder you, and I don't like that type of conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I attacked you in any way, in a game, it would be like, okay, yes, now I'm stopping you from getting 4 points, and now I'm getting 4 points. Okay, great. But so many of these cards and stuff was me just like, I'm just stopping you from getting points.
Yep.
I'm not getting points, and
Which is interesting. I wonder if that's because of the design, because they're so aggressive. Like, so I actually am kind of, goal oriented to fight a little bit because I get fairly decent rewards. But that then kind of says in this type of game, you just aren't going to fight that often.
yeah.
Because the two factions who are definitely more geared for fighting have are just okay reward systems.
Yeah.
Steal gold, destroy a mollusk from the board, or do 2 damage to a ship.
And it would be a little bit different if gold was a victory point at the end.
Right.
But it's a tiebreaker.
Or worth more than...
And, I mean, to be fair, like, and I will say this on the game placed around dice as your actions, they actually weren't a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I totally
had a problem
expected
with
it to be one of those, well, I can't fucking do anything.
Never had
Like,
that issue.
Never had, nope. And so they at least have gold as your mitigation.
And I used gold one time to mitigate
I think I did too, yeah.
And so if we really think about how many rounds do we think we did? Probably
4?
4 around the
Four or
table.
5? Yeah.
Well, you were first. Who was first player at the end? You?
So
we
did 4.
I think we...
Because I started
Was
1,
it 4 or
2,
was it 7?
3.
Well, I'm saying just
Oh
4
yeah, it would have been
rounds.
7. Yeah.
Yeah.
7 full rounds because I forgot.
If we were each first player
I would have
twice.
been I was
Yeah.
first player twice,
Except
and
for
then
me.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. So 7 total rounds.
And so in 7 total rounds, you only have to mitigate your dice one time. Says, okay, the dice system is balanced at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I liked. I was happy because I was like, man, you gotta get a 6 and a 5 or a 5. But then I was like, but you have 5 dice and a 20 or a 33% chance of hitting
Of getting those.
You're pretty much guaranteed
Hell,
you're going
even
to get
then,
one of
it's
them.
like because of the
Yeah,
way
my
that
2 best things are both 6s.
are both 6s, but even then, it's like, oh, okay, I rolled a 5. Dang it. Oh, I'll just go over here and I'll collect that gold.
Right.
And then next turn I'll spend it and bump it up to a 6.
Right.
So I like the fact that you have a lot of control over how you dice. This is the way I like dice. This is why I hate the combat in this. Because this, like your turn is, oh, okay, now what can I do with this?
It's the War of the Rings style.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this doesn't frustrate me. It's actually more of a puzzle where it's like, if I do
Right.
this. Versus, man, I sure would like to sail. I can't.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of shit is so frustrating. That's why a lot of skirmish games don't work for me, because it is just kind of like, okay, let me tactically move over here and here and here, and I miss. Okay! Glad so, the dice system worked fairly well, but yes, the aggressive factions that I play in Root, there's always a reason to. I mean, mainly it is a total fighting game, so it's
Right.
like me attacking you to do that is because I'm going to get victory points off of doing that, and I also now control this region, which then allows me to place to build whatever if I'm playing the cats to build in there, and also hey, I control it so I can build this, which now I can work with the Vagabond. So there's a lot more integrated into the aggression of Root versus this.
Right. And one thing I will say, kind of the counter of the Root is, realistically, you have 2 factions who are pretty focused on fighting, and one faction is not. And Root, the birds aren't even focused on fighting. They're focused on making a continuous system.
Yeah.
They're good at fighting.
Yeah.
Like, you can...
Hell, the Woodland Alliance isn't even really focused on fighting. They're just the best at it.
Right. and so in a game that is about aggression, but there's so much control over your aggression, where this one, like, I fought you more often because I had no choices.
You're like, well, that's the only orange spot there, and you even forgone the cargo because you wanted me to control it at the end.
Right.
which ended up being a hinder, and which is kind of a weird thing because it's like, well, I want him to control it because I have his card in my thing,
Right.
but that's 4 points he's just getting, unless Brett can take it, which is not at all hard, especially with that card. He's just like, okay,
Right.
it's mine now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, oh, well then it's like, okay, well now I heal and I go over there and then I just bombard him.
And during the
Or I get the second convincing comrade, take both of those, then take 4 and plop them back over here.
Right, and during the run through, there was a complaint because I wasn't exploring, and I was like, I don't need to. Pretty much everything but red was discovered, and I was
Yeah.
like, the cards didn't call for me to go look for red at that point.
Right.
And I was like, why would I ever go explore? It's a waste for me. It's almost a waste of an action to go do it.
It is.
And it only opens up more points for us.
Right, and I didn't say that at the time. I was like, why would I go do that when it's not helping me any scoreable point?
Because I want this game to have negotiation, and it doesn't.
Right, it doesn't.
It's like, yes, I want to work, because you are kind of like the middle, you obviously are the middleman between us two, so it's like, okay, I need your help to sway it in my favor, because I'm losing. So, to do that, how about you quit bumping up the shit that Brett has control of, and then explore out so I can follow you.
But it's always, in this game right now, how it's set up, it's a one-way negotiation. There's no benefit for me. You can't give me anything.
Right.
So there's no encouragement. Like, if you could give me gold, like if gold was tradable, I'd be like, okay, you know, I can do that. I can
The
work
only
with
thing
that.
is, like, you could be like, okay, if you go explore that, then I can control it, and you can put those in my pile. But that's such a weak counter offer, because I'm just going to gain more points.
Right.
If you did it in, like, round 3.
Right.
So for the next 4 rounds, I get 2 points. So you trade off 2 victory points for 8 that I would get.
Right. I do like the fact that I'm limited to 2 cargo, because I could see,
God,
because if you could grab more,
I know.
you could. Honestly, I would never go to a port until I had like 4 of them, and then just dump it.
Yeah. It's definitely the factions are absolutely balanced. So here's my question: did you guys have fun with your factions?
I did. I enjoyed it.
Me personally,
Yeah.
it's right on that edge of thinking too much to have fun versus. But again, we know I'm at a lower
You're
place
in
on
the
that
lower
mountain than the rest
bracket.
of you.
Yeah, you're beneath
And
us.
I know that. I admit it. I would say that I certainly can imagine people having fun with it and really taking to strategizing and the luck factor and knowing what's coming.
Yeah. And the fact that you can just sandbag on those. The fact that you draw 2 every round. It's like, it is at the end of every round, but it's like, man, I wish there was a way to, like, because you're only limited to 2 cargo. It's like, have a hand limit of something, of 3. And it's like, okay, well, now you kind of have to play them to then draw more.
Well, most of them are not great. They're all good, but there's only a couple of them that are really good, and I just happen to stack them. Part of it by avoiding combat.
But that's so that was like I'm trying to remember the Nightfall. It was kind of the thing with Nightfall, right? That because you can stack, so you can hold it, waiting for that perfect moment. It's always better. Versus with a hand limit, this isn't the opportune moment for me to use it, but these other cards are better that I know is going to be more better. So I play it. It's not opportune. But who cares?
He must have been trying to think of a way to counteract. Okay, I want to give the Bluefins an extra die, and so he always gets to react to stuff that happens. Therefore, the Mollusk, as his enemy, needs to have a way to have a because you don't know what I'm going to do with my final die.
You put a huge enough advantage that the extra doesn't stop.
So I can't prepare for that. And then the fact that I think you just have pure crew and you control how much we score. You're basically the DM of this game. Is very interesting. I will applaud him that based off the way it was briefly explained to me at Gen Con, I was like, okay, it's pirate route.
Right.
And it does not feel like route.
It doesn't
like
feel
at
like
all.
route,
And I will commend him for that, because it does feel like, oh man, yeah.
Looking from the outside, it looks like route. Playing it does not feel like route.
It's nothing like it. So yeah, it's in that weird position that it puts me in, where it's like, as we've talked more and more on it, my annoyance as playing the game has subsided, but I know it's still there, and I know for a fact just the way that the game is set up, it no longer boils down to, let's say we're playing a 3-player game of Root, where we're all equal enemies. Yeah, someone might be in the lead, so then the other two kind of cease fire and go after them to knock them back down. But at the end of the day, okay, we're all trying to negotiate with one another. This does not have that.
Nope.
Right.
Whoever's playing the Bluefins and whoever's playing the Mollusks are attacking each other the entire time. And then they're annoyed at the smuggler because it's like, well, what the fuck is he doing?
Right.
And it reminded me of the analogy I made in the run-through of a 3-player game of Merchants and Marauders. It's like, okay, we're just fighting the entire time. Oh, man, Cat won. Like, oh, she just did rumors the entire time because, like, I couldn't break away from you to deal... Like, I can't break away from you to deal with him. Like,
so that, it felt very similar to that same idea of Tiny Epic Pirates.
Oh, okay.
Where you can fight people, but then that one person who just goes around selling resources to different islands then just wins.
Yeah. So, or like even Western Legends has it, where if someone's going, evil the whole time, then it's like, okay, so no one's going to be the sheriff to stop him. Okay, I guess I'll fucking do it. I don't want to be the sheriff to do this, but I guess I will.
Right.
Which I don't like Western Legends for that one main reason. But yeah, and I think that's really where the crux. It's like everything is relatively a positive. Besides the combat die, I don't have a whole lot of negatives. In all reality, like the factions are balanced, and even whenever I made the recollection that, oh, because I think you guys are better than me, and you guys are thinking the opposite, therefore it's balanced. You know,
right.
Like if you guys have ever played Voyages of Marco Polo,
yeah,
where it's like everyone's ability is better than yours,
right?
But they're all thinking the same thing,
right?
Interesting though. So you've got a game that no matter what faction you play, you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
But you know that everybody else isn't liking it either.
Right.
So you've got a universally.
Well, they might.
It's
like...
very well designed. It's very well balanced that nobody likes.
The difference is like, I feel like your powers are better doesn't mean I dislike my powers.
Yeah.
Because that's, to me, it's War of the Ring. I love playing both evil and good because evil, I feel like, oh, I have so many minions, but they're so far away to do anything valuable. And good is like, I keep losing people, but Frodo just gets one step closer.
Yeah.
And
I can't find him. I can't corrupt him.
Right. And so both people are like, man, I think I'm going to lose this game. Until you hit that end condition, because it's actually balanced pretty well. Of both sides actually have lots of good strength. It's just the other side, when it's face to face in those situations, just look overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way: like the final score, like I just edged out 30 points and won by, like the point spread from first to last is 5 points.
Right,
and that is literally one area control away.
And we had at one point it was
one card play away. Actually,
if I had mathed that, then I would have stopped it.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, hell, because I only had one.
Or if I had mathed it out and thought, oh, I can get to 30 if I do this right now.
Yeah,
I thought I needed one more try.
And on a lot of playthroughs, that kind of is what the game becomes. Because then you were mentioning. I think we talked about it before when we did like our first play of like, oh, are we ever going to look at what other people's dice are? And we're like, I said probably not, but it actually, as you play this game more and more, you could have looked at it and be like, he's going to go last.
Yes.
He has a 3. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's probably going to order. Like he's probably going to, because then he can, or he's going to get 4, 3. Oh shit, he can get 9. Yeah. Then you'd be like, I'm going to play this card and then spread it out. It's like, oh, well, Brett won.
Right.
Because then you could have swung 5 points in that instance. And then I'm like, because I can only do stuff with the one die at the end. And it's like, I can't stop that. I might have been able to stop you getting to 30, but
that would have been it.
That would have been it. And
unless you're lucky enough that it's your last 3 dice.
Oh, where I'm in second. That's also true.
But again, it's still those same situations of trying to negate, like, and that's why I think this game will take off if people give it a chance. Is you'll become really familiar with what every card is in that 12-card deck.
Yeah. You eventually card count, where it's like, okay, what has he used?
I mean, and that's the thing, is like, because Root players do it, TI players do it.
Yeah, but they also don't have any friends.
I mean, have some.
Like people, like I don't mind card counting whenever it's very limited, but like, yes, someone could. How many you have? 12 cards. Okay. It's like probably halfway.
Two of them are duplicates.
Right.
So really 10 cards.
Oh, I see. So it's like, yes, if he played 6 cards, then I'd be like, okay, let me look through those. you have 6 cards in your hand. Okay, I know now what you can do.
Right.
So it kind of does become that. But
I mean, it
But
will
that's gonna.
eventually.
The more strategic it gets, the more thinking about that stuff, the slower it gets too.
yeah. So
I felt like I was slow on my turns most of the time because I was just waiting to see what happened. I was reacting the entire game.
I think that is kind of what this game is a little bit, though, is
It
you're
is a
reacting.
reaction
Yeah.
game. Again,
Because of the very nature of I do 2, you do 2, you do 2, and the turn order, it's like,
which would be normal, because if you always think you're weaker, that means you always are thinking, I have to react to a thing.
yeah.
It's players who are in strength who don't think, I have to react to a problem.
And some of it was just unfamiliarity. After playing
Right,
several
yeah.
more times, you understand
Right.
the strengths.
And to be fair, like whenever I placed my strongholds down, I was like, oh man, I have that on lockdown. Nah.
Right.
I mean, mainly because I never bolstered them with cannons.
Right.
But I also never thought at the time of placing those in there that anyone was going to attack me.
Yeah.
So each time I lost a stronghold, I was like, oh, that sucks.
Right.
Like, because that was the only reason I had control over what Brett had. And then if you, as a third party, just swoop in and you remove it, then it's like, why the fuck did you just do that? You just gave Brett 4 points! Like, that's
Because he knew I wasn't a threat.
He can't be a threat.
I know.
Like, in the sense of the area control.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I know.
He's actually not even really a threat in any way, because we can't do anything to stop him. Yes, if I get the Buccaneer, then I could attack your crew, but I can't stop your cargo.
Right.
I can't hinder your... Yeah, I mean, I guess if you were battling going that route, I could try and always win, and so you
Right.
never move your thing, but it's...
Yeah.
They're just so third party. And I think that's ultimately what annoys me the most about this game, is that no matter what, in a 3 or 4 player game, we're just at odds the whole time.
Right.
And you have a neutral party.
Which is how it's set up.
Which is how it's designed, and that's why I don't see myself keeping this game.
Right.
Because of that. It's like, I don't want... Because I know for a fact my feelings for how we played the run-through aren't going to subside.
Right.
Unless I play the Smuggler. Like, I would want to play the Smuggler because it's like, oh, ease. Like there's just no one to, like, I just can dictate. I can actually kind of negotiate for nothing. But, yeah, I would not want to play either of these factions. Whereas in Root, I will literally play any faction and
Yeah.
have a good time. You guys got anything else?
Production quality, inserts.
It's fine.
It's later a game, so it's good.
Yeah, except for the fact that the command tokens have to have stickers put on them.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, it was whatever. But it was just like, really? Stickers? Come on. I'm very curious to see how this game does, though, because I know what its score is on, I was going to say IMDb, on Board Game Geek, which is surprisingly what I'm gonna give it. But I think this has a relatively small print run. I don't think it went on Kickstarter.
It didn't go on Kickstarter. It is all
thank God.
pre-released. It's all,
It was released first at Gen Con.
but it's still not. It's in pre-order right
It's
now.
a pre-order? Okay.
So they did a small print run for Gen Con, and
Yeah.
then it's pre-order right now.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
that's-
I had to rush to the booth. And
Right.
they had the whole pile whenever I got there, but then later on that day I walked by and it was all gone.
Right.
I was like, yes.
Again, Leader Games definitely did at least push out that was coming out in Gen Con for the short run.
Yeah.
So
I think they even got lucky that it showed up. Because
Did they?
Nick, whenever I asked him, he was like, hey, come back tomorrow. Because we were surprised we're actually getting them in tomorrow. So, but yeah, production quality is solid.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't replace any pirate game for me. Like, Dead Reckoning is way
Yeah.
up there. Merchants and Marauders is up there. I haven't played Tiny Epic Pirates, but I don't like the Tiny Epic games or that designer all that much. As a designer, not as a person. Like, Scott Holmes fucking sucks as a human being.
He owes me money.
yeah, it was fine.
I'm trying to think of other pirate games. Tiny Epic Pirates.
yeah.
That's what
Treasure Island,
Rum and Bones.
which is not really
I was like,
qualifying.
I guess.
It's not combat oriented.
That's true.
It's a search-
Rum and
it's a
Bones
search-
is interesting. I've only played the first edition, so I
Yeah.
don't... I've heard second edition. That's more your MOBA kind of style. Rum and Bones, if I remember right, I did have a fun time with, but I ended up getting rid of it. Yeah, there's not a whole.
There's not a lot.
Yeah, there's not.
Which is surprising, considering how big
Well,
pirates have been in
I should say
pop culture.
there's
That's
not a
true.
lot that feels like you are a pirate.
Right.
So there's lots of ones that
Yeah.
are pirate themed. So like what's the one that's cards that we played? The ship and you're getting cargo. Other Zach loves it. Jamie just came out with a new version of it with the cat.
Oh, Libertalia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's pirate themed.
I was like,
But it's
Jamie,
not.
who does? Oh yeah.
It's pirate themed, but it's not a pirate game.
Yeah, I don't feel like a pirate doing it.
And that's my thing. Like when I started looking like to find my pirate themed game to fit that slot in my shelf, it's like, man, there just aren't pirate games.
Yeah, I have two. Yeah, Dead Reckoning and Merchants and Marauders.
Which again, Dead Reckoning fills the spot now.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to kick it off that pedestal.
Because it's so specific that
Right.
that theme is that I want to feel a very specific way versus just sci-fi or fantasy. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I don't want to. I want to feel like my character in those games, but I don't need to feel like I'm in a fantasy world or
Right.
whatever. So, yeah, this feels like it's going to be a niche game because it's like if someone wants the combat but they don't want the very like aggressive directed at fuck you as another player, Dead Reckoning,
Right.
Because you can just fight and there's actually reason to go fight.
And if you want to just go around pillaging villages, Dead Reckoning stuff.
Yeah, Merchants and Marauders would be my
Right.
other one if you can find it and the expansion.
Right.
It's Fantasy Flight. It's old Fantasy Flight, so it's very Ameritrash, but it's probably more thematic than Dead Reckoning, probably.
Probably.
So yeah, I don't know. Scale 1 to 10. What would you guys give Ahoy? Start with Brett. Yeah.
I will speak first. So there. I will say 7.
7. That's exactly where I'm at.
That's
is a
exactly
7.
where I am.
Yeah. And that's what it is on Board Game Geek is 7.3.
I was going to say 6.9 was what Board Game Geek was going to do.
Oh, it is 7.3.
Okay.
Which I feel like that's accurate.
I would agree.
Like,
Which is surprising for their rating system.
yeah, that's true.
Which means there's a bunch of people rating it lower than that.
Probably. But because it's only on like 70 ratings,
Yeah,
like,
right.
because no one has it.
Everybody's still thrilled about, I got one!
Yeah, it's all the Gen Con people who are playing it and giving
Right.
it exactly what we just gave it. So yeah, that's our thoughts on Ahoy, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.